as almost the networks attack rely on it, and the high quality data from the DNS and domain name are really essential for detecting all the malicious behaviors. Next slide, please. Yeah. By analyzing domains helps identify threats like the phishing and the command control activities, and also the freshness or the newly registered or reserved domain name also help people to better identify which may be higher like a possibility to have the bad behavior after behind it. And some enriched domain name related data, it's like DNA for all of it, and it can help to discover the association between domain names, including the age of the domain, registrar information, name server, IP, etc. Also helps to making the connection between different domains. Oh, next slide, please. Yeah. Network claim now usually goes through 4 stages. And the prepare one is they are making the scheme what kind of a domain names they are going to register. Then they register and prepare for the IP space and the provision of DNS and configure server. Then in the use stage, it's going to conduct all the criminal behaviors like phishing, command control, etc. And then when the filter or the cybersecurity organization already identifies that and block that, they discard all the domain name and redo this circle again. So as early as possible to identify the maybe malicious domain name, it can help a lot to take a lot of the proactive actions. And Cal Bitter from the Spam House also shares some recommendation from prevention network crimes and online scams. And the first he mentioned DNS intelligence and domain reputation database are powerful tool to prevent online fraud and crimes, and to leverage them, enable proactive actions by domain registrar, registry, and hosting providers. And to implement the Know Your Customer process, KYC, helps to identify the bad users or the domain abusers, and that can help the registrars and the hosting provider to protect their services being abused. And he also mentioned about the observation that like phishing website actually have a shorter lifespan compared to before, maybe because ICANN has a very clear concept of the phishing website. So they also grant the rights to registrar and registries to take it down once it has been identified. However, for the online fraud or scams, the lifespan is much longer. Maybe because like in the RRA, like between registrar and registry, it hasn't had a very clear concept or identification for that part. So implement this recommendation definitely can help to improve the industry practice and strengthen defense against the online crime. So we have some like conclusion for this webinar. First, the collaboration is the most important thing, and it's a very crucial approach in combating the online scams and fraud in cooperation among various stakeholders, including the government, law enforcement, the DNS industry, and the cybersecurity organization. And data sharing is identified as a very effective method for combating scams by sharing relevant like information and information to different organizations. And furthermore, there should be more work be done by registry, registrar, hosting provider, and the ICANN to helping to combat the online crime and the anti-scam purpose. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much, Kevin. And interesting because earlier in the panel, I remember the plenary session, for a lot of the registries, they talk about security as a key focus. So this is actually one very good area. We can think about getting in touch with Kevin and thinking about how to expand our network. Now I'll hand the time to Satish for the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, Jurong, for this opportunity. My name is Satish Babu, and I'm part of the at-large advisory committee. The title is Community Effort on DNS Abuse Reporting. And I should clarify that the word community here does not refer to people like us, the internet governance community, but it refers to the end user community, the 5 billion people, which are the users of all our services. So here is the overview. APRLO is the end user organization for Asia Pacific within the ICANN end user community. We organized this particular session on June 22nd. DNS abuse is a big concern for all of us, and the reason why we talk about DNS abuse as a concern is because it compromises privacy, integrity, availability of online services, erosion of user trust and confidence, costs arising out of damages as well as mitigation and incident response, infringement on intellectual property, and the loss of stability of the domain name system. Next. Now, mitigation of DNS abuse. Again, here, DNS abuse is a very specific definition within ICANN. I understand that there are multiple definitions, as was talked about yesterday, but here we're talking about DNS abuse as defined by ICANN. And it starts with reporting, and the internet governance community has been working for the last several years to produce tools. And we have already seen references to DNS Abuse Institute. Now, the reason why we organized this session was because we wanted to see how to empower the 5 billion end users and their communities to participate in incident reporting, whether it's even possible, thus transforming them from passive spectators to empowered entities who can participate fully in this process. The speakers included DNS Abuse Institute, Rowena Shu, admin of ICANN board/.asia registry, Maureen Hilliard from ELAC, and Amrita Chowdhury, who chairs the APRLO. Next. Here are some of the takeaways. There are several reporting tools available, including NetBeacon, Compass, etc., in addition to DAR. However, these tools are somewhat technical, which may deter end users from using them. So if somebody wants the header of the email, people do not know how to extract those headers. So there's a limit to how much the current situation end users can participate in reporting. Therefore, there's a need for capacity building to enable end users to take up reporting. It was also pointed out during the session that the Asia Pacific region is very diverse. The ICANN definition actually starts from Caucasus, from Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, all the way down to South Asia, then Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Pacific. It's a really huge area. In fact, yesterday somebody is pointing out whether we could even call this a single region. It is so diverse. So this diversity is, of course, it is a strength, but in this particular case, it poses a significant challenge for empowering us, even as a simple thing like cyber hygiene. How do we communicate? We have so many languages. So how do we kind of translate these things into things that the end users can practice? So in line with the previous presentation, a collaborative approach with information sharing and simpler tools would be useful. For example, can we develop an app to report? And the app can extract all this information automatically from the system. Is that even possible? We don't know. And organizations like the end user part of ICANN, APRLO, can play a bridging role to get the communities in touch with communities like these. Sorry, one last one. The last point was about agility and adaptability, because these things are evolving over time. The threats are evolving over time, and so therefore we need to ensure that we are agile and we adapt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Satish. And I think it's an interesting perspective when we think about the end users. All right, so I will cover the last bit, and we are in time, last 5 minutes. So we organized a session called Do You Have a Website? And it's kind of targeted at registrants, but we also realized that resellers, registrars also found this session particularly interesting. Can I have the slides up, please? All right, so our guest speaker was Brian Gatterman. He's from ICANN, and he's our Registrants Program Senior Manager. So interesting that we have a Registrants Program, because we get a lot of frequently asked questions from registrants. Sometimes they register a website, sometimes it can be like just $10. They think that it's very cheap, don't think about it very much as an asset. So the target was to tell people about, actually your domain name is a key asset. So the first question I asked him during the session was, why are registrants called registrants? Like, I bought a domain name, right? I paid money, I should be called a domain name owner or domain name holder. But the term registrant is an industry term because of the ecosystem. So we have a registry operator, registries. Then the ones that sell domain names are registrars, and also resellers also sell domain names. So the people who bought domain names are actually called registrants. It's just an industry term. Now, the thing about buying a domain name is kind of like a lease, because you buy it for a certain period of time. So you technically don't really own it, but again, if I lease the car for X amount of time, it's still my car. So you just have to think of it that way. Now, again, the key message here is that domain names are assets, because you use your domain name to have a website, to provide the e-service to your customers. So it's a key asset, even though it could be just $10, but it is your gateway to your customer. And it's important that you look after your domain name like any asset that you have. So that's a key message that all of us should take away with. Now, the other thing about when you register a domain name, i.e. when you buy a domain name, what are some things you want to watch out for? Your relationship with the registrar is important. Even though I can just go online and I want to buy a domain name. I go online and just register for it, pay my credit card with it. But later on, if you encounter problems like, oh, I forgot my password. Oh, I need to change my contact details. And you forget to do that, then again, you're in trouble. So the best thing actually is to have a relationship with your registrar. Know who your registrar is, be able to contact them. And I find it interesting if you were in the morning panel, JPRS, they spend a lot of time building relationships with their registrars. And it's because the Japanese culture requires that relationship between the registrar and the customer. And likewise, I think as the customer, you should also think about who is your service provider, so that if you need help to update your password or contacts or make any changes, you can. So that's the key message. Work with the registrar you know and that you can communicate with. Now, also in terms of managing your domain names, make sure you remember when is the expiry date. Make sure if you know that you're going to use this domain name forever, then sign up for an auto-renew option. Make sure you keep your contacts up to date. So those are some key points. And I made this point earlier, know who your registrar is. Also look at your rights and responsibilities, and make sure you can contact your registrar. If somehow in the room now that I mentioned, you have not kept in touch with your registrar, you can also find out who your registrar is using an ICANN lookup tool. Now also, like I said, again, domain names are an asset, so make sure you protect it like any asset. So use an email address that's not directly connected to the domain name. Otherwise, somebody could try to impersonate you and then compromise your email. Create a strong account. The usual cyber hygiene rules apply. So really, that's a key summary of it. I think these set of slides would be evergreen, would apply to anyone, and also for even if you're in the registry or registrar business, good to educate your registrants and to remind them of some of these points as well. Then all of us can make the ecosystem better, because if domain names are not compromised, then they won't add to DNS abuse. So there is that overall cycle that we are all helping each other in the ecosystem. And with that, I will close this part. And also switching hats back again as the moderator. We are run out of time, but I'm grateful for everyone for taking the time to be with us, and I'm grateful for our speakers. So please join me to give them a hand. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry. Hello. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll begin the next session in a few minutes. Just give us a few minutes to set up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hello. Testing, testing, testing. Hello, hello. Okay, perfect.
Switched off his camera. I'm going to get him to come on. Anyway, we got 2 more minutes before we start. I'll signal you when he turns it on. Okay. Yeah. Well, after you signal me, then I'll start. Okay, then we will change the.
Testing. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Wait. Are we good? We're good to go? Okay. Let's try again. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've had a chance to get some coffee outside, network a little bit. Welcome to the panel discussion of the next phase of digital transformation, a multilingual internet. My name is Jennifer Chung. I'm your moderator for this session. I work for .asia organization, and we are the registry operator for the generic top-level domain .asia. We are a not-for-profit organization, and we are based, well, the headquarters is in Hong Kong, but you've seen us everywhere else, and maybe you've heard, if you are part of the ICANN community or the industry, that we are especially interested in looking at multilingualism and, of course, IDNs, internationalized domain names. We have a very illustrious panel of speakers today who will bring you through all the challenges that we've faced before, maybe a little bit of a history, the current work of IDNs and EAI, and they will tell you what they are, because I don't really like to use too many acronyms, but you'll see in the slides, you'll see in the presentations what this all is, and current state, and what we have to look forward to. So if I can please invite our speakers who are in the room to maybe join us up here, and we also do have our remote speaker as well. So maybe let's see if we're able to change that as well. Thank you. Speakers who are in the room, if you may join us up here. Yes. Wait. We'll get this sorted out. This is still okay. You know what? We can work with this. So our first speaker is actually joining us remotely. You can see him over there. It is Mr. Anil Jain. He is the CEO and director of the National Internet Exchange of India, NIXI. Hi, Anil. It's good to have you with us here. He's also the chair of UASG, chair of the India's Internet Governance Forum, and he does a lot of the work in the IDN CCPDP4 working group. He's also a member of the IDN EPDP, working on the management of IDN variant domain names. We have right here on the stage, also we have Mr. Xiuzheng Wu. He is the vice president from Coremail. He will be presenting a little bit more on the work that Coremail is doing in terms of EAI. Next to him, we have Mr. Walter Wu. He's the co-founder and president of .trademark TLD registry, Dian Shangbiao. Next to Walter, we have Mr. Anowin Pongsaboripat. He is the Assistant Director of the Thai Network Information Center, THNIC Foundation. And then finally, last but not least, we have Mr. Jackie Chan. He is, Mr. Jackie, I'm sorry, I changed your last name. He's a Principal Engineer, Fujifilm Business Innovation Hong Kong Limited, and also the Chairperson for ISOC Hong Kong. So, as we have heard yesterday, and also today as well, from John Crane, ICANN CTO, we have over 8 billion people in this world. Only 5 billion are currently connected. So where is the next billion or next 2 billion going to come from? These are people coming from the global south, from regions and countries that do not have English as the main language of communication. We are sitting here today in Hong Kong, in Asia Pacific, a region that is home to over 23 countries, depending on which list you're looking at, and also has over 2,300 spoken languages. So the next phase of the internet is being described as focusing on connecting people instead of just machines and devices, which you've heard a lot more about this morning. By allowing these people to access domain names and email using their own languages and scripts, the DNS is being called the glue of the internet. And IDNs, internationalized domain names, can allow people to navigate the internet in their native language and also access content, local content, and lowers the barrier of internet access to these people who are newly coming online. Currently, IDNs do exist, of course. In fact, they've been already delegated into the root since, depending on who you ask as well, there's been some testing that were delegated into root back in 2006 or maybe like 2007. But actually since 2010, as part of the IDN CCTLD fast track process, they have already been delegated into the root. As of last December, there are 1,481 TLDs delegated to the root zone. Of these, there are 91 that are IDN generic top-level domains, and there are 61 that are IDN CCTLDs. At the second level, there are over 1.52 million IDN registrations across all of the GTLDs. And IDN registrations are actually the highest in the Chinese script. So this comprises 50% of these second-level registrations, and then it's followed by the Latin script at 26%. With all of this, you're wondering, so why are we, even trying to say, is this important? Of course it's important. It's important for us to be able to use IDNs, to be able to use EAI. So I think maybe right now is a great time for me to invite Mr. Anil Jain to talk a little bit more about the work that's done to allow people to use IDNs and EAI, and I'm sure he will tell you all about it, about UASG. Anil, please. Are we able to have Anil's audio?
Thank you, Jennifer, for giving me the first opportunity to talk on this important topic about the next phase of digital transformation, that is multilingual internet. So as Jennifer has said that, to my understanding, of course, more than 60% of the world population do not converse in English. But as per John Crane, who spoke yesterday in this forum, he said that not 60%, I think it is almost 75% who do not converse in English. So it is an interesting aspect. Out of 8 million global population, right now we have around 5 million people who are using broadband. Now, if 5 millions are using broadband and not more than 2 million are conversing or well aware about English, then what the rest 3 million are doing? and what is about those 3 million which are not yet connected. So I think it is an interesting aspect to understand that those people who do not converse in English, they are not fully utilizing internet or its potential. So I think this is a very interesting phase where we have to see that not only we have to connect every citizen of this world on internet, but we have to connect them meaningfully. It means that they should be able to fully utilize the potential of internet. For this, IDN domains, as Jennifer has introduced, are getting adopted in various countries. And these domains are, the scripts are, of course, very limited till date. But we hope that with the new round of GTLD, more number of IDN GTLDs will be adopted by various registries world over. Similarly, the number of IDN users, which are around 1.5 million as on date, are expected to rise very, very fast. So let us look at that. Once a IDN is available, what are the important technical changes which are required, which we have to take care before making them as integral part of internet? Universal acceptance is one concept which takes us to that level. And let us look at what a universal acceptance is. Next slide, please. So universal acceptance ensures two things. Number one, that IDN top level domains and email addresses in local languages can be used by all internet-enabled applications, devices, and systems. And if we are able to make this simple problem, solution to this simple problem, then we can comfortably say that next 1 billion internet users can adopt internet comfortably. Now let us look at that what a UA actually means. Next slide, please. Next, yes. So let us look at this particular slide where it says that domain names, including the IDN domain names, can be of different combinations. The first one is the short top-level ASCII domain name, example.sky. Now we have a long top-level ASCII domain name also, which we have seen, example.engineering, which is more than 3 digits now. And if you see the IDN, then you can see that this domain name is, I don't know this script, but I think it is Thailand's script, which is there. Now, if we look at the emails which are possible, then email possibility is ASCII @ASCII. It means that on left-hand side and right-hand side, both side ASCII. Then there is a possibility of left-hand side ASCII right-hand side IDN. Now you must have seen that an example is given. Similarly, if we don't use a URL, you use Unicode, then there is a possibility of Unicode @ASCII or Unicode @IDN. But there is an interesting email which is possible, especially in the Middle East, where because of the script, the left-hand side things become right-hand side and right-hand side become left-hand side. So all possible combinations we should be able to accept and make it universal acceptance. So let us understand that there are 5 processes in universal acceptance. One is the system or application should accept the inputs in local language. Once the inputs are accepted by the system, computing system or software, then it should be able to validate with the software which is inside that this input is correct. Normally, if the system is not UA ready, the moment you input something, then you get a error saying that this error, it cannot be accepted. Once your inputs are validated, then it should be processed by the computing system, then it should be stored, and finally, the most important is the recipient who is able to get this particular information should get the display in that intended language, and the content should be available in that format. So basically, this is the complete picture of, in a simple word, what a universal acceptance is there. Now, next paragraph, next slide, please. Now, let us look at the Universal Acceptance Steering Group. This group is formed by ICANN in 2015. And basically, the concept of this particular group was to create and disseminate the best practices and journal outreach information about universal acceptance. Now we have, of course, it is written, group is made of more than 500 individuals. Now we have more than 800 individuals who are working in UASG and promoting the universal acceptance. So various programs which we have undertaken till now are listed here to identify and remediate the issues that prevent UA. So in case there are technical issues or there are procedural issues, UASG give the support to those people who are trying to implement UA. UASG also work to educate and raise awareness about UA among internet users, developers, and businesses. Here we have seen that we have celebrated a Universal UA Day, which was one of the biggest awareness program which UASG has taken in these years. Then UASG also develop and promote the standards, and those standards are developed and available on uasg.tech website, and anybody can access those websites and get the standards which are available. UASG provide tools and resources to help the organization achieve UA, including the measurement tools. So this is the snapshot of what UASG works. Now, next slide, please. UASG works with various working groups. So one of the working group is technology working group. Another is EAI working group, which is email, internationalized email acceptance group. Then measurement working group. Then we have communication working group. Along with these 4 working groups, then we have a local initiative also, which is one organization per country, which takes to promote the UA. And then we have a UA ambassador program where individuals are appointed as UA ambassador. Now let us look at, now every group is doing multiple work and huge amount of work, but I have selected only few top work which are being undertaken by the various working groups just to inform you what is happening. So first is technological working group, where they are identifying the technology stacks for UA testing. So in case you are UA ready and you want to test that your system is UA ready, then we can provide you help in identifying the technology stacks which can be helpful. UASG has identified 2,000 websites, and we are intimating and getting in touch with the website owners, and we are helping them to become UA ready. Similarly, EAI working group is working on a very important thing, is that self-testing of email technology and methods. It means that if you are an email provider and you want to test whether your email are UA ready, then you can undertake this test yourself. And then those things are available to you. Second is identifying reference mail service provider to showcase for adoption of globally inclusive email. So basically, any successful email provider anywhere in the world, we provide that reference to the community, and community can discuss with them, get in touch with them, and understand how your system, your email has become a UA ready, and then improve the support of globally inclusive email addresses by engaging market share leaders. So this is work done by AI. Measurement groups undertake the gap analysis of e-commerce platform, web hosting tools, identify platforms, and more content management system. We are also working on analyze the impact of the use of HTML5 email field and identify how to address HTML5 email field for accepting globally inclusive email addresses as identifier. Next slide, please. Measurement group is responsible for managing the entire global UA Day, where on 28th of March every year, the whole world celebrate the UA Day, and this is the biggest awareness program. Now, measurement group is also approaching big techs like Google, Netflix, Microsoft, Amazon to adopt the UA. So basically, if these organizations are able to adopt UA, I think 50% of the work is done. Then we have local initiative working group, as I informed that they are one per country. And they conduct regional UA awareness, they conduct the trainings and stakeholder engagements. And in case they find any issue, then they refer to a concerned working group of the UASG. Then we have UA Ambassador Program. One of the UA Ambassador, Walter, who is there with us from China today in the panelist, they are supposed to organize the trainings and outreach at the national and regional level. They are required to travel to various regions, discuss, engage the people, and inform about the work which UASG is doing and how a organization can undertake the UASG work. So this is a snapshot of what UASG of ICANN is doing at various levels. And I request all audience and panelists who want to join the work of UASG and contribute in the progress of UASG, you are requested to join on uasg.tech. Visit there and fill up the form and become a member of us. And you can become a member on UA_discuss group also to become member of this. Now let us look at what is happening at India level, what we are doing at the India level, and what we have done. Next slide, please. So in India, we have enabled 22 IDNs in 15 scripts. And these are the 22 recognized official languages in the country. And till now, we are able to get more than 50,000 IDN domain registered, which are being used by various people. And this number is growing, and we are increasing at a rate of more than 50% growth every year. To promote uses of IDN, NIXI facilitate the IDN domain name virtually free of cost, along with a IDN email also. Whenever anybody is booking a CCTLD, so that we are doing it. Then Government of India has undertaken a project called Mera Gaon Meri Dharohar. Can you go back? I think we are talking about the previous slides. We are still on the previous slide, Melody.
Can we move
slide before this?
Perhaps if we're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
Okay, no problem. So let me speak out. So Government of India started a project called Mera Gaon Meri Dharohar, where more than 600,000 villages are getting a IDN domain, IDN email, and we are making a websites for every village to put contents related to various information related to that village, the culture, and what is happening in that village. We are also converting various universities' websites into local language so that we can promote the next generation to adopt IDN and universally acceptance program. Now, looking at this website, this screen itself, we have identified all the government websites. Now, next, I have covered this one. Next slide, please.
Anil, I think there might be a little bit of technical difficulty, so maybe if you can just summarize, yes, the good work that is being done in India, and then we can probably wrap that. Thank you, Anil.
We have identified the government websites and we are trying to convert them into multilingual. Government of India has also constituted a group called Multilingual Internet Group. Now, this multilingual internet group, the details are available on which are listed here, and we can log in and we can understand what this multilingual internet group is doing. And this is driving the implementation of IDN, emails, and conversion of the websites into universal acceptance. Now, we have undertaken a Global UA Day celebration 2023 last year, and I'm really thankful to ICANN who has given this to India. And it was a tremendous success, which is acknowledged by ICANN also. So we have also framed a universal acceptance report, which is a 3-year report for implementation. And India has already started implementing this report aggressively in government, in industry, in academia, and in user group. So these are the efforts which are undertaken at the India level. So this is all what I just want to convey and share with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anil, especially for joining us remotely here in this session. So I think Anil has already given us a pretty good background on what the good works are being done by the UASG and universal acceptance. He did touch a little bit on the EAI, so the email address internationalization. And with this, I'd like to thank Anil, of course, for joining us, and I'd like to go to our next speaker, who is Mr. Xiu Chang Wu. He is Vice President of CoreMail, and he'll take a look at what CoreMail is doing in terms of EAI. Maybe if we can get his slides up, and I know that we are kind of halfway through the session, so let's try to keep the explanation here a little more concise so we have some questions from the audience and some more conversation from the panelists as well. If we can please cue up the slides. So maybe while they're doing that,
I need my PPT and video.
and we have a little bit of technical hiccup, but here we are. Okay, over to you.
So we talk about the IDN email a long time, but what IDN email looks like? This a video is IDN email how to work. No, right? Email address, no English and ASCII number, just Chinese, so they can work. This is send email, please. Now we succeed receive send. Now we say received. So it's work. Now it's okay. Give me my PPT. Thank you. So it's EAI looks like how IDN looks like this. No. Maybe some people can't know IDN mail, what they looks like. Okay, this is Marvin. I come from CoreMail. So I'm also a UA ambassador too. like work. So please give me my PPT. Okay. Okay. I can. Okay. Now it's also like AI looks like. No. So we can send an email to ASCII traditional email address like 163.com, like qq.com, like word.cn. You can see it's work successfully. So as Andy say, English not the first language in internet. Simple Chinese is the number one, but a few application for the internet. So I think we need UA. My work is focused on email address. So I was EAI work group. So you can look EAI just for the email address, not for the email body text. Bluefield Commail, introduce Commail. Commail has 1 billion end users, and also has application 1 million users based on Commail source, meaning they can support EAI. Begin in 2011, Commail began his EAI's journey, and until 2015, the Commail has EAI ready. Commail's EAI solution has all UA ready, include service system for service and all kinds of client, just like Windows, iOS, Android. Now, my partner, Mr. Zhang Wenwei, will help me to share some technique detail for Commail's EAI solution. Mr. Zhang, please.
Okay, let's take some in-depth about how we do in the EAI supporting. Okay, let's first see some brief introduction of the difference between traditional email address and the EAI address. The traditional email address only contains ASCII, and the maximum character length is about 256. And it's the same as the octet limit. And generally, it's case insensitive. Uppercase letters will be converted to lowercase. Okay, let's take a look at what's different about EAI. The first thing is the different encoding may be used in different situations. And the domain part can be encoded in UTF-8 or Punicle. Let's see the examples. And while the local part always encoded in UTF-8, and the domain part can be different. This requires the program to handle encoding conversions based on the context. And secondly, while the byte length limit remains the same, but we have to take a very careful consideration about the email address length, because a Unicode character converted to byte length will be from 1 to 4 bytes. And the last thing is the lower casing for the non-English text is very complex. And even the result of converting the same letter from uppercase to lowercase can differ across different languages. For example, consider the letter I being converted to lowercase in Turkish. It looks like this. The same letter as English I, but turn out the result is different. And sometimes for Chinese is much more complicated because we need to translate traditional Chinese to simplified Chinese or vice versa. Because for the same person, it can have two names, but in different scripts. And for Chinese, traditional Chinese to simplified Chinese, it's not the one-to-one conversion. It's for different Chinese, traditional Chinese can be converted to one single simplified Chinese. For example, the Chinese 头发 的发 and 发财 的发 it's different in traditional Chinese, but it's the same character in simplified Chinese. So if you convert one Chinese name from traditional to simplified, it can be confused.
So perhaps maybe just quickly a question, since we are running out of time. I really wanted to ask one question, especially given the the technical workings that you've done with EAI work. What do you see as the main challenge for EAI going forward? What is the biggest roadblock?
The biggest problem is
Mike. Mike.
Because the email address is the fundamental concept of the system, so the EAI transformation involves various aspects of the system. Identifying all the areas that need to be modified is our biggest challenge. Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation on Coremail. Because we are running a little bit on time on this session, I really wanted to get to the rest of our speakers who've been waiting so patiently here with us. So now we turn over to Mr. Walter Wu, and he's a co-founder and president of 点商标 .trademark in Chinese TLD registry. Really, I'd like to get some impression of how is the IDN market landscape right now, perhaps maybe starting in China, and where do you see the future of this going? What are the main things that the industry and also maybe end users need to be aware of and to take note?
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Sorry about that. Yeah, I will have first have a background introduction about myself. Actually, I'm doing the Chinese IDN registry, means .trademark, in Chinese characters. The reason we choose to do the .trademark, it is because we believe that the brands and trademark owners need a specified TLD, and we try to set up the link between their trademark and the domain name. Actually, when we mention about the value of IDN, a lot of people saying that navigation is very important for the internet users which do not speak English. But some people have different ideas. They say nobody really type in the domain name right now because they do not really go to the address bar and try to type a domain name when they want to navigate the internet, because in most cases they will go to the search engine, or they go to like the e-commerce website, they will search and they will try to get the content what they found. But actually the value of the domain name is not only, it helps to navigate, but it's not only for navigation. The identity is actually very important value for the domain names. And the IDN is very important on the identity value because for example, let's just say in China, and because most of the institution or organization or enterprise, they will choose a Chinese name. But by the ASCII domain name system, there is no direct name can be used by ASCII alphabets. So that creates a lot of problems. For example, like a very famous bank in China called ICBC. ICBC in China we call 工商银行, but actually when people search ICBC or try to type the domain name of ICBC, sometimes it will be confused or very easily confused with some ASCII names. Like there's a very famous phishing case. Some criminal just create a domain name 1cbc.com.cn to try to copy the website of ICBC. Actually, the identity issue is not only the key issue for the non-English countries for the internet users, but also it actually affects the secure and reliable of the whole DNS system. So that is why the IDN, we think it create the big value or create the function of try to help the enterprises or institutions in non-English speaking countries to create identity online with their native language. I think the key value of IDN. And mention about the UA progress. Actually, as the UA ambassador and also as the player of Chinese IDN registry, actually, we do a lot of work with our colleagues in China, try to, talk with like the search engine, like the, some big internet company, try to, let them support the IDN. And then, we realize there's a thing is, for those, internet, big internet company, or let's say the web browser, server provider, service provider, and, sometimes they support. And sometimes, if they update a new version and they do not support. It seems like IDN is not really a key issue for them because there's very few internet users began to use the IDN. And here's the thing like that. It is like an egg and chicken issues. People will complain, or some internet company will complain. You do not, tell us, IDN is very important, but we do not see the statistic, of IDN typing. So why we need to spend a lot of resources, into the space to support your IDN, and then, actually, but the internet user never. So if internet user do not use the IDN because nobody told them to do so. So here is the issue. Because the big internet company do not see the usage, so they say IDN is not so important. And it just like, if we build a highway, if the government say there's no so many automobiles or so many cars, why we need to build the highway? And then, as a driver, you say, without a highway, I do not want to buy more cars. Okay, so here is the issue is like this. We believe the key issue of the UA progress is not only working with the internet companies, but also we need to educate the registrant of IDN, to let them use the IDN, post the IDN on their advertisement. And when they do that, the internet user will gradually know which domain, which IDN they want to access. And overall, the internet user began to use the IDN, and then the internet provider will realize and recognize the value of the IDN. Maybe the total UA work can be go more fast and more smoothly. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter, for that. I think you've identified quite an important question here. In the beginning, I mentioned the next billion or 2 billion people do not use English as their main language, but you've identified they don't even know they can access it. And so companies, I think when we looked at Anil's presentation, he said if we get Google and Microsoft to be UA ready and have universal acceptance, then half of the problem, 50% of the problem is gone. So there's probably communication and marketing efforts that need to be done, not only at the technical level, which we've already seen, but also the messaging that needs to go out to these people that we're trying to get online and be able to navigate the internet. I'd like to now turn to Mr. Anowin. I know that THNIC has been doing quite a lot of work as well in terms of universal acceptance and EAI work. Can you give us a little bit of a flavor of what is happening in Thailand now? Where do you see the challenges ahead?
Yeah, hello. Okay, let me add to Mr. Walter. So we have faced the same issue, but what we have done a little bit different. We think our team think a bit different from Mr. Walter. So when we go to our reseller, our provider, internet provider, so they always say that they're not ready to implement their system or develop their system to be UA ready yet, because they haven't seen that we have enough user to use the EAI or IDN. So what we have done, so that we try to educate, not educate the provider, we educate the user. Raise awareness that, okay, we have IDN, we have EAI, so let them try to use. But at first stage, we not success, yes, because we just like to, how to say that, it's spread randomly. We just do the workshop, do the advertisement, and not the precise target yet. That, okay, we will say that, okay, everyone who want to use the IDN, we give free domain. Everyone who want to use the EAI, we give free email. But after they get, no one use it. Because they said, oh, this is IDN, this is EAI, and after that, it's like no activity on that domain. So we just changed a little bit that, okay, we cooperate with the Thai SME to the Thai Teacher Association that find the people who really want to use the domain, who really want to use the email, and let them try to use the IDN or EI or Thai domain and Thai email. I think this way is, in my opinion, is quite success, because they have to use it. And then we a little bit force them to use the Thai domain and Thai email. But we also give them the English, because in case that they have to contact with the people or the foreigner who don't understand Thai language. So that and also we educate the young people from the high school students, because nowadays, as you know, that when we found in Thailand, the student now, high school student now, they don't know that what is the website, what is the domain name. They just know that, oh, this is Facebook application. They don't even know sometimes that Facebook has the website. They just know that if you want to go to Facebook, download application and access to the application. So that's why we try to educate them that, okay, we have the website, we have a domain name, and also we have the IDN, we have the EAI. So we try to build the user from the scratch. And then now, and we hope that when they grow up, they can we willing to use the Thai domain website and Thai email. And also I would like to promote our free Thai email. Even you guys don't know the Thai language, but we have the free email called like a call mail, but we call kon.thai. In English, it means Thai people. You can go to the kon.in.th. You can try to register. We give you the Thai email and also English email. So whatever you can use both English and Thai to how to say that, to give to the other people, because with these two email name, it has the same mailbox. So whatever you send to the English or Thai email, you can read it. You can read your email. Yeah. So I think it's the time. It's good time. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Anawin. This is actually quite interesting to learn from the Thai case study, because there is many different vectors that you're trying to promote this, from capacity building at the schools. You actually start teaching students that this is actually a thing. You teach the coders that this should be part of what they think about when they build apps, when they build websites, when they build other, when they write code. And then you did mention also, forcing, quote unquote. So there's also the arm of where you really do want people to uptake it, so that you need them to use it. So in all the different directions, I think this is actually quite a comprehensive way of doing it. Maybe from what we heard from Walter before, the chicken and egg problem, maybe also the decision can be to take it from all the different avenues, where you can first teach people who need to go online that this is possible, and then the SMEs and also the government kind of would be able to coordinate, a concentrated effort to make this a reality. Now I'd like to perhaps turn to Jackie to actually give us a little bit of impression on what you have heard from the previous speakers. Where do you think that, internationalized domain names and multilingualism on the internet, do you think this is going to be something that is very important going forward? Maybe some examples from Hong Kong, or maybe just some general thoughts on this.
Thank you, Jennifer, for my kind introduction. Actually, may I stand a little bit because I'm sitting for a long while. To respond to this topic, it is about the next phase digital transformation. We talk about digital transformation, we normally from three approaches. One approach is that we talk about hyper-automation. Another one is talk about, especially currently we are under the post-pandemic situation, we talk about smart work style. And for those two approaches I mentioned, it calls and based on very key issue for our next phase internet, multi-language internet, it is about cybersecurity. How to these three modules or three approaches to link them up. I heard about the previous fourth speaker talk about all of them. I agree most of their comment and contents, but I would like to raise out basically I would like to raise out the three technical problem for this topic. The first one is about the language detection issue. It is about the search engine algorithm, about the language detection issue we need to solve because different people based on different countries, say Thailand or mainland China and other, say Mexico, we use different language. How the search engine to cater for the algorithm for the local people to search this different language and pull up the right content, that is a technical problem maybe we need to solve. And the second technical problem we may, it is a kind of content management or content technical problem is the translation quality. Because even we use English, it is not truly or hardly to reflect the true meaning of the Thailand or simple Chinese. That's the technical translation quality issue. And finally, it is a very technical issue is the infrastructure. Infrastructure includes everything, says from the domain name to the web hosting, etc. Such kind of infrastructure says how to be control, put it in the cloud computing or wherever. You just think about it is correlated to internet. It caters some kind of infrastructure cost. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. It's interesting that you touched on some of the, the search engine optimization and all of that, and you also mentioned a little bit more about what Anowin said about pairing the Thai IDN email, the IDN email, EAI actually, with the English email, because you still want to be able to have communications with, people, organizations that perhaps do not read Thai, perhaps do not speak Thai, but can see it in English ASCII characters. I think it's really interesting when we look at this, because I've heard from, maybe the audience would have some questions about this too. I've heard some detractors and criticism about IDNs, internationalized domain names. And the question is, does this actually fragment the content on the internet? What are we going to do about this? Why spend so much money if nobody's going to use it? And all these are valid questions, but the important thing that we need to remember is because the next 2 billion coming online do not have English, there's no English literacy, we cannot force them to be able to be left behind, left out of something that is so crucial to our daily lives just because, that there's a language barrier. So it is imperative that we do continue the efforts. And it might sound to everyone that, oh, this is really difficult, there's so disparate efforts, but I do assure you, both within the industry, both within the ICANN space, the community, as well as, on different government levels, I think there's a lot of concerted effort to look into how we're going to be able to create this space where you'll be able to navigate the internet, navigate in your own language, your native language and scripts. I know we don't have too much time left, and I do want to see if there's any questions either online or in the room from the participants for any of the panelists, or general questions about, where we're looking into, digital transformation for multilingualism. So I'll pause here to see if there's any burning questions.
Thanks very much. My name is Satish, and I am part of the UA community, and I chair the UA Tech Working Group. I think it's been a very interesting discussion, and we see that there are several challenges as well as workarounds and temporary solutions that might work. My fundamental response to this challenge is that unless there is a significant amount of demand from the users, which means directly from the end users or indirectly from governments and other actors who decide policy, unless there is a pull from the user community, it's very, very hard to kind of see how people are going to invest. Now, as a part of the UA Tech Working Group, we are bridging this gap. We are solving piece by piece, but it's still quite an effort. If there is some way to stimulate interest, as has been already talked about, by the messaging and what we can do to kind of ensure that people are going to ask for this, only then you will find the big tech people are going to kind of move on this. Thanks.
Hello. Thanks, Satish, for the question. Did I see another hand? Yes.
Thank you. So I'm Princey from Technic Foundation. In terms of the user, you said, with our government, so the government agency, they would like to see the success case. So maybe from the UAST point of view, maybe we can summarize the success case, and then I think many others government also looking into this also. And another issue for the user, that when they trying to use or experience the IDN, some of social network or social media, they cannot display the IDN character. So normally their life is on the social media, and once they cannot post with UA IDN, so they don't want to use, and that is the bad experience, and we will not gain that trust again. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Bang Sri. I think there's one more.
Hello, thank you for sharing your idea and experience. And so we all know there is 2 billion people lived outside of internet, but yeah, and also most of people can't speak in English, but they can use social platform, yeah? So here is the question. Those big social platforms or message platforms can support IDN domain name. It means all of them show panic code on the social platform. So therefore, we need to work with that big companies. So my question is, for instance, in Thailand, what is the most used platform? Thailand use, yeah. And also, same as in Hong Kong, same as in China, TikTok or WeChat. In Hong Kong, what is the most used application or software, social media platform? Yeah.
Okay, let's start with me. So for Thailand, the most used application is Facebook and Line. Facebook and Line, L-I-N-E, Line chat application. Facebook and Line, two applications. Yeah, for Facebook, we cannot do anything. We try to contact Facebook, but we are Satish, we are UA, we are ICANN, but as you know that it's still not success yet. But for Line too, for Line, I think if you try on the mobile version, so now it's already support IDN domain, but for the desktop version, still not yet support. And also we try to contact Line Thailand to help us solve this problem. That's what we do.
Thank you. Maybe some. Hello? Yeah. I know we are running quite out of time, but I wanted to give, right of response as well to any of the speakers who wanted to respond a little bit on, China, what is the platforms, and I know if they use it or they don't use it. Maybe Walter?
Yeah, actually, I think that gentleman gave a very good question about how we work with social media. Actually in China, WeChat is the most popular tool, and we have a lot of conversation with them. But I think WeChat actually their business, their business thinking is a little bit different, because every social media or the big internet platform, they hope to build a closed, environment. That means even the domain name system, they do not really like that. Like the WeChat, actually, the enterprise can, get a WeChat account or, set up a, WeChat publish account to publish some content. For that, domain name even doesn't work, but the IDN also doesn't. Of course, there's no IDN. But what we hope to WeChat to support is when we try to type IDN in the conversation, it should be set up a link to click and then refer to the website. That is still in the conversation. But they support the ASCII domain, but not support IDN. That's the current situation.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Walter. Thank you for the questions. I think really the takeaway here is we have done a lot of work, but there's still a lot more work to do. I encourage you to, grab any of our panelists here during the coffee networking break to see what else, you want to ask them, because there's no time left. And also take a look at the uasg.tech website to see how you can contribute, how you can also assist with the efforts. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, the speakers, and yep, we'll close this session. Thanks.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the last session of the forum, so I'm actually holding you back from enjoying Hong Kong. So, but I promise you, it will be a good session. Okay. Now, just to set the context correct, this session is on digital transformation in emerging Asia, opportunity and challenges. So if you think you entered the wrong session, just to tell you know that there's no other session, you might as well stay on. Okay, like I said, let me set the context for today's session. We all know, actually, in the past few years, there's a lot of effort going into digitalization. A lot of economy are talking about digital transformation, everything is going online. And I think you are familiar with this, is actually, we thought it's the CEO or CIO that will drive digitalization. Unfortunately, is another C, which is COVID, a virus, looks that. But, okay, that still drive a lot of digitalization for a lot of economy. Now, as we now come out from the pandemic, borders are open, many of the pre-COVID activities are resuming. So that's the good news. Unfortunately, what happened is that inflation, global inflation has stayed stubbornly high. And we all know that if you read about news, the winter has set on the tech industry. There's a lot of layoff. Now, so it seems that the global economic outlook is a bit uncertain. So how does that going to affect the current effort on digitalization, digital transformation in economy? Okay, so today, what we want to do is how can government and industry work together to bring the next level of digital transformation? Is it more about the same? Do we change course? So with us, I have a panel of distinguished speakers, and let me introduce one by one. Okay, first speaker will be Dr. Sack. He is the Senior Advisor, Electronic Transaction Development Agency, Ministry of Digital Economy and Society, Thailand. Second speaker, Wan. I just learned how to pronounce it. Wan. She's the Deputy Director of Corporation Resource Management Department, VNIC. And the third speaker we have, Mr. Jun Vincent. He is the Bureau Director of Government Digital Transformation Bureau, Department of Information and Communication Technology. The fourth speaker, Ms. Ira Chen. She is the chairperson of Tech for Good Institute. And last but not least, I have Mr. Timothy Tam, Head of Government Affairs and Public Policy, Google Singapore. By the way, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Kwei Serpeng. I'm the General Manager for SGNIC, the registry for .sg. Okay, without further ado, can we have the slide for Dr. Sack? Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Before I start my presentation, okay, because this session is about digital transformation, and I'm from the government agency, so I would like to tell you what should be the role of a government agency to drive digital transformation. In my opinion, I think there are three elements of digital economy. The first one is digital ID. This is my national ID card. In Thailand, you need to present this to government agency, private sector, to prove yourself. And this is the digital ID version of Thailand. Okay? You can use these ones, almost everything, including proving yourself, doing government transaction online. But I can tell you, it took us 8 years to get from this to this. I mean, that's too much. Okay, that's the second one. That's the first one. The second one is digital payment. I show you my digital payment, my bank. Let me see. Okay. Oh, this is my QR code payment. This is which is called prompt pay. Okay, you can use this one to do things online in Thailand. You don't need to bring cash, and you can do this in Singapore as well. Now you're beginning to see my point now. Behind this success is the Bank of Thailand. It took us probably 10 years to get from the beginning until now. Okay. The third one, which is probably the most tricky one, is the digital data. Okay. Okay. Where is my clicker? So my agency is the one behind this. Okay. We need to drive the adoption of digital transformation, but you need to build some sort of enabling system, trusted service. That is my agency mandate. Okay? ETDA has been founded, I think, 10 years ago, something like that. And we actually take care of one of the first, the first digital law of Thailand, the Electronic Transaction Act, 20 years ago. And nothing happened since we, issued that law until, I think, probably 8 years ago that we started to know what to do. And probably the technology is were not ready for us back then. Okay. But now I can tell you everything is ready now. Right now, Thailand, I think we have more than 10 digital laws. Okay? Yeah. Okay, I think we have more than 10, in total, around 20 digital related laws. From policy, infrastructure, ecosystem, payment, and everything, okay, involve something probably around 10 agencies plus another 10 regulators. So my point is that government needs to work together. Right now we have digital regulator, okay, apart from my agency, 5 or 4 more. We need to work together. Imagine if the Bank of Thailand issue a measure to combat fraud, and the National Telecom Committee issue another way of doing it. Imagine people would be confused. So we need to work together in order to come up with a way to make our people, our citizens, understand that digital is not just a technology now, it's like everyday life now, okay? This is what I'm trying to say, okay? We need to do cross-sector regulator. For example, in Thailand, we have the privacy agency. We have the National Security Agency, of course, ETDA is doing the transaction, and the National Broadcast is doing the telecom. Behind that, we have 3 more, or no, probably 10 more sectors, the finance, okay, the government, the healthcare, and so on. And beneath that, you have special agency that took care of special things. So all you need to work together. That is what I'm trying to say here. But not only among the government, but for example, in Thailand, I think we need to work with our neighbor as well. For example, I tell you about, the Bank of Thailand talked to the Bank of Singapore to get the Pay Now and Palm Pay to work together. So it's not just your government in your country, but your regions, country as well. We need to work together. Probably on a global scale, we need to work together. I posed you a question. Now you see my digital ID for Thailand. Can we use digital ID in other countries? Things like that, we need to make sure that it could work together. I don't know who's going to lead this initiative, okay? But what Thailand has been doing, I think, is showing to you that digital is borderless. You cannot do it alone. That's my point. So when we start coming up with a number of digital laws, you have to have some sort of framework to make sure that you don't miss out anything. So we pick up the Consumer Digital Right issued by the ITU some years ago, because we have to make sure that our citizen is protected. Not just fraud, but also other things, for example, the business side as well. And you can actually go to the website in the slide. To make sure that we come up with the law that would protect everybody. Apart from this, I would like to show you that right now what we are doing here is take care of 3 things this year. The first one is the digital ID. We have a Digital ID Act, which would be effective next month. It means that who would like to issue digital ID, you need to be regulated by ETDA, something like that. The second law is a digital platform service. Of course, Google is one of the major platform in Thailand. We have to register with my agency as well. The third one is AI. Okay, let me ask you, do we need AI regulation? Anyone? Do we need to regulate AI? Raise your hand. Come on, guys. Do we need to regulate it? Are you going to let OpenAI do everything they want? You know what happened with the EU AI regulation? It was supposed to finish by April, but they postponed until last week. You know why? Because they didn't think ChatGPT would do such thing. I mean, come on, it took them 3 years to come up with the AI regulation, and suddenly generative AI came out, and then they, okay, we didn't think of that, we didn't think of this. Why? I ask you why? Why suddenly generative AI came out and say, okay, we didn't think of this before. We need to regulate AI, but the way we regulate is very important. Let me show you how Thailand is trying to regulate AI. First, we don't want to rush up issuing AI regulation. I can tell you, because you never know what's going to bring you next. What you see here with the ChatGPT, it was what they did 2 years ago. What is happening in their lab right now? Can you imagine? So we need to be very careful in regulating AI. So what ETDA is trying to do, instead of come up with the way to regulate AI, we need to make sure that our existing law is okay to unlock the potential of AI. This is one thing. Things like AI sandbox is going on to be available soon. And we need to come up with a way to talk with all the stakeholders, not just the regular sector, but also everyone actually. Okay, so we expect to have AI regulation sometime probably next year, something like that. And this is a Thailand digital ID framework as well. As I told you, we took 7 years to come up with this picture. So if we learn from each other, you don't need to waste your time like Thailand, I can tell you. Really? I mean, and digital ID is very important. It's one of the basic elements of digital economy. And okay, well, I have only 1 minute. My conclusion would be that we need to work together. Not just the government, but also the industry as well. Last week, I talked to Google Thailand. We come up with a workshop that Google should tell us what we should do in terms of regulate AI by Google, because we already talked to Microsoft and Amazon as well. Okay, so guys, work together because AI is going to change everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sap. Thanks for the insightful things that Thailand has done. Yeah, I do agree with you. For AI and for any new technology, if you regulate right at the start, you are cramping down innovation. So I have a word for it. We call it progressive regulation.
In Singapore, you still
Yes.
didn't have
Yeah.
AI regulation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But you have some sort of recommendation, which is
Yes,
the good
yes,
idea.
the ethic part. Yeah. Okay, let's have the second presenter, Ms. Wan from VNIC.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm from VNIC, Vietnam. As you know, VNIC is, we take care for .vn, and also and we are also the national internet registry, take care of all of the IP address in Vietnam. And today I'm very happy to share with you basically about the digital transformation in Vietnam, and hope to can share our experience, also to learn about another country like Thailand, also from another private sector like Google. And first, as you know, digital transformation actually happened in Vietnam 3 years ago, following the decision from the Prime Minister of government. We had 3 main pillars for the program: for digital economy, digital government, and digital society. And for digital government, we need to have a 4 no. Yes, no hard document, no need face-to-face meeting, no direct contact, and no cash. Yet I think you are on some notes in this slide. So we will look forward in the future. Maybe we complete the program in 2025. And we look forward to have have own process online, have ability to provide new service. Yet as you know, you can have a lot of the new technology. So I believe that we have a new service on the internet. Yeah, like something that yesterday we have to talk about this morning. And also another, we have the ability to make decisions by database. As you know, when digital transformation, we have a great number of databases. And so we can decision by following database. And also in the last half, have ability to deal with hard big problem. That I mean that if you had a hard issue, hard problem, so we didn't know how to deal with. So I believe that the transformation for digital transformation can help us to deal with the big hard problem following the database and new process as well. And some targets following the program, then it's a lot of the targets, so I just focus on something for our government. They are focused on the 80% of level 4 online public service. Is that mean that all process online? And by 2030, we look forward all of the level 4 online public service. Yeah, we online all of the process. Yeah. Also, we have look forward to data platform for all of the militaries on the reporting system of government, and also to connect with the IoT infrastructure as well. And we look how that the target will help us to rank in the top 50. And as you know, up to now, we got a great number of the level 4 online public service, and 90%, yeah, 90% of the service from government, we public online on the portal. Yes, all the service we publish a portal for everyone, every company. And also we, from government, we require all the ministry and brands having plan for digital transformation. So all of the ministry and brand and many company entity in Vietnam, we choose a digital transformation is one of the important tasks in this year. Yeah, in like 5 years as well. And also we published the data exchange platform on the website and launched in the 2020. And now we got maybe 1.4 billion transactions. And we believe that is a great number to share the database on the not only the population but also the customer, also the company, and we of course the company outside Vietnam. You can look in it. And another field, the digital economy. As we look forward to develop the economy in Vietnam following the digital transformation, and we got the great number of contribute for GDP, that we look forward to 30% contribute much more for our GDP by 2030. And we look forward, Vietnam is ranked in the top 30 on the ICT Development Index in 8 years. And now I believe that SME is one of the important subjects when you deploy digital transformation. So we have a SME program. There's a program can support the SME to transformation, to make them better. And also we had from our ministry, we had the program to make in Vietnam. So that means that every company, every entity and organization can have the platform by themselves to make in Vietnam to support the Vietnamese people and also another customer, not only in Vietnam but outside Vietnam. And also the digital transformation can make the e-commerce development better. 75% internet users in Vietnam use the e-commerce. They can buy and sell products, goods online. And of course, they can pay online already. And the growth rate of the e-commerce very well, yes, 20%. Yeah, last year, as you know, last year we can have some trouble after COVID-19. So, however, the growth rate of the e-commerce development is a great number, 25%. I think it's a great. And the target about the digital society, the last figure, yeah, we look forward to support and to contribute about the infrastructure and platform. Yeah, platform, digital platform, digital infrastructure to have everyone in Vietnam can connect internet. Yes, not only in the city, but also in the province, in the mountain. Yeah, we look forward to they can connect internet, yeah, and also can connect 5G, 4G. And also they have the digital taking account, yeah. And all of the infrastructure, all of the platform can be done. So we look forward to a great number, top 30 on global cybersecurity index for the digital society. And how we achieve about the digital society. We got maybe nearly 80% internet user, and almost the households have the FTTH. Yeah, and also 86% of internet user using 4G and 5G. And we also have planned to turn up for 2G and 3G in the near future. Yeah, and as variety sector, we look forward and promote them to digital transformation first, financial banking. I think almost the banking use the. Maybe they run the digital transformation first. That you can use a credit card, not only in your country, but also another country in the world. And also we promote healthcare can easy to casually in COVID-19. Yeah. Also, we promote education and another issue like transport and logistics engineer and another sector you can see on the screen. And that we look forward to a great life for everyone in Vietnam. And also, I believe that if we had the same activity, we make it better, so the area, the region is better. And the last thing I think is the topic of this session for some concern and opportunity. Yes. There's the big concern regarding to, I think that there are many concerns. Some how to develop the digital infrastructure platform, about the human resources, because you have new technology, so we need to build a lot of things. So how about the cyber security, because the internet development, so many cyber crime. And how about the privacy database, so we just easy to lose your database on the internet. You put on the internet, so it's not the security, but everyone can connect by something official or not officially. Yeah, and some regarding to the company and government is the budget. Yeah, we need to have money to do that and address some issue in Vietnam. And opportunity, we also we look forward to deploy the digital transformation to make our company to faster with the one platform for all, and safer, because we have the privacy regulation and other regulation to support customer, and also smarter with new technology, 5G, IoT, cloud, AI, big data, and IPv6+ as well. And that's all my presentation, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wan. Your for, have, and not. I thought it's quite interesting. Yeah. Okay, next speaker, we'll have Mr. Jun. Would you want to share some of your experience and that you are doing in your country? Yeah. You just speak, I think.
Sound.
You know,
Sound. Oh, okay. Okay, everybody's awake. Thank you very much. First off, I would like to thank the organizers. Thank you for inviting us here, the Philippines. There's so many things happening in the Philippines right now. This is the golden age of digital transformation in the Philippines. So if you are all service providers here, you can rally up and go to the Philippines. Okay, so my name is Jun Vincent Manuel Gaudan. My friends call me Wix. I'm the youngest director of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. I head the Government Digital Transformation Bureau. Yes, everything government digital transformation comes to my office. That's why I hit the office by 8 until 11 in the evening. So kidding aside, so the Philippines right now is entering a new age of digital transformation. Unlike Vietnam and our Thailand ASEAN friends, we are so young. The Department of Information and Communications Technology was penned into law 7 years ago. So we are relatively young, right? And out of those 7 years, there came 5 ministers already, or secretaries. So can you imagine the change? It is not just digital transformation, but it is also department transformation every now and then. So that was the dilemma, that was a challenge of the Philippines back then. But with the new president now, that's why I believe that digital transformation will be really, really effective if the instruction is coming from a higher authority. Because if you understand digital transformation in its basic sense, there are 3 spokes of the wheel, all right? If it is a wheel, there are 3 spokes for it to move forward. The first spoke is the software, the second spoke is the hardware, and lastly, the peopleware. In the Philippines, peopleware is very, very difficult to actually transform because there's emotion, there's that love to old technology, there's that love of legacy systems. So that is what our office is actually doing every day. Most of it is more of the people. But when I shared my presentation to our friends here, the organizers, they said that my presentation was very, very big. It's a large file, and the computer somewhat lagged, you know. So I decided not to present it anymore. Why? Because we're 7 years old. Sir is from Thailand, is doing 19 years, 20 years already, and of course Vietnam, our friends from ASEAN. So we are doing so much. That's why my presentation is really packed. We're doing the IDs, digital IDs, we're doing the EKYC, and all together with a different memorandum of understanding to the different agencies, because in the Philippines, we coined a very important thing with the president, is that he said, let's stop the long lines, let's get online. That's the mandate. That is coming from him. So how do we do that? First is that we establish the ID. That was the first step. Thailand is right that if you want to learn from the mistakes of other countries, you do it with the ID. Secondly, which is a challenge now, is the PKI, or the digital signature. In a digital transformed world, it's difficult to actually deny the fact that, okay, digital signatures come in late, but digital ID and digital signature should be the first one to actually change. Because when you go and present yourself, like for example, you go to the social security system of your country, and then who are you? I mean, how will you be able to prove that you are indeed Shet, for example, right? So the thing is, we did that also, and that's part of the presentation. That's why it's really thick if you print my presentation. And then next, we move on forward to, because there are about 600 government websites in the Philippines, and all offering citizens-facing services. Can you just imagine if you want to deal with the government, there's no one face. It's 600. And then we, years back, we actually did the national government portal, but it eventually failed because of the changing administration. So what we did this month, ICT, oh no, it's not this month already, it's actually July. Last month was the ICT month in the Philippines. So what we did was, we launched the first ever in the Philippines, the e-government PH super app. It's a super app where all citizen-facing government frontline services are available. It's also your ID, because we learned from Singapore, from Thailand, from Vietnam. And then you can also, later on, in its next phase, you can pay all the transactions in the government. So what we are doing right now is that the Government Digital Transformation Bureau is not all of the, by the way, the system in the Philippines is pretty much good because of the fact that the Government Digital Transformation Bureau holds all the approvals of all government purchases of ICT equipments and even softwares. So right now, my bureau can control the growth of the Philippines when it comes to government digital transformation. You can't buy a laptop without the approval of the bureau. So we're an archipelagic country. If you view Philippines, if you haven't seen who among you here have been in the Philippines, who's been to the Philippines? Thank you. Boracay, is that Palawan or Metro Manila? So we have three major islands. That's Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. We're an archipelagic country. We have 7,000 islands. And the most amazing thing is that our systems are also islands. It's not talking to one another. Like for example, if you go to another agency, once you go to another agency, you fill up the forms, so on and so forth, and now we get our we get everybody moving to digital transform already, and that's why the eGov Super App is very, very useful. And then we also have initiatives such as giving out free services, free softwares to digitalize or to digital transform our local government units. Because after all, digital transformation really should stem from the grassroots. And that is where peopleware is very, very important. So once you talk about digital transformation, I don't talk about the technology. Technology can be studied now and gone later. You have AI today and then super AI tomorrow, right? So it's really the people who are using that technology and really telling them that digital transformation is here to stay because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen that. There's so many government transaction that was not able to pursue or push through because of the fact that we have the COVID-19 pandemic. I believe Hong Kong was the last one to be, it's a restrictive move from your government to really close up Hong Kong, you know. But in the Philippines, we realized that if we don't digitally transform, then might as well not. How will we be able to prepare for the future, right? I mean, it's amazing. So that's why we're young. We're a young organization, 7 years old. And I hope that we'll be staying in office for quite some time because that is very important, sustainability. And by the way, talking about sustainability, we're dealing with the present issue. We're also targeting the midterm. We're also targeting the long term. And I'm very thankful for the President and our Secretary, Secretary Ivan John Uy, and President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, and of course my boss, the Undersecretary for E-Government, Yusek David Almerol Jr., because they lobbied for the e-governance bill in the Philippines. So that is why Philippines right now is really more into the digital transformation. That's why when you talk about what are the possible prospects for digital transformation service providers, or it's really, really raw in the Philippines, and the market is really heating up. And I hope that we can maintain that. And that's why we are making sure that all of these sustainable, that all of our actions right now are sustainable, is that we implement a law. In the Philippines, if you have a law, it's very difficult to actually change it. So I hope that we will learn the lesson from Thailand, that when they have a law, it took them for how many years to actually implement, and I believe that I have a lot to learn from other countries, but we are trying our best. You know, Filipinos are very resilient, and Filipinos are very, very social media savvy. 5% of our population now is posting or either commenting or reacting online. So we're the #1 when it comes to social media. So I think it's not difficult for us to digitally transform. It's really the mindset and the peopleware that really makes the entire digital transformation. Remember, it's a journey. It's not just the government. It's not just the private sector, but hand in hand together. And so as the government, controlled, owned, and corporations, the education sector. I think that's why I'm here. I want to learn a lot, and being here is just an amazing journey for us. So once again, thank you. And if you have any questions about the Philippines, you can talk to me after the program. Maraming salamat po.
Okay. Right. Hello. Thank you, Jun. Nice to hear a young and energetic economy trying to start its digital journey. Okay, we have heard from 3 government speakers. Let's hear from the industry. May I have Ilaria Chan to share your views?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having us. I'll introduce myself. I'm Ilaria Chan. My previous career was actually with Goldman Sachs and helping take Asian companies public in the Western world. And later on, I joined Grab in the corporate finance division before it went IPO, and moved on to be an advisor to Grab's public affairs, and also am now the chair of a think tank called Tech for Good Institute that's founded by Grab in 2021, right before Grab's IPO. And Tech for Good Institute is really trying to bring together public and private sector in Southeast Asia. How do you harness tech for good? How do we nation build with tech and the growth of tech? And it's an honor, actually, to serve with our founding team right now, going into almost 2 years of work. So we convene the community in Southeast Asia to decide what's going on and how can we learn from each other. Maybe I'll do like, I don't know, how many of you have been to any country in Southeast Asia? The 10 countries. So that's like, well, actually this side, for some reason, nobody raised their hand. Okay, somebody go and tell them all about Southeast Asia and give them lots of hotel coupons and drinks coupons so they would go. I think it's very important to visit Southeast Asia, minus Singapore, to actually understand that part of the world. What's so funny? Sorry, I didn't mean to be funny. Because what I'm about to talk about involves gaps, for example, in transportation, in traffic, that needs to be solved. For example, in Manila, one time I was stuck for 2.5 hours, literally in traffic for a 1 mile distance. So I got off the car and started walking. That wouldn't happen in Singapore because it is run in a different way. The size of the population is different. So if you've only been to Singapore, also please visit other countries too, because digital transformation is about solving a lot of the social gaps in the more developing nations there. But if we zoom out and we look at the countries in Southeast Asia, it has around 680 million people. That's double the size of US. The internet economy is projected to hit $1 trillion by 2030. Around 3/5 of the population are under 35 years old. Philippines, for example, I think the Asian Development Bank and the IMF did a study that their population is yet to peak for another 10 plus years, which means that they have a very young working population. Vietnam as well. So many people are very spending savvy, they are digital savvy, and they don't mind maxing out their credit cards so to go out and have a drink on Monday night. That actually forecasts a very different economy and spending pattern for the consumer industry versus an economy that is aging and has different priorities. 6 in 10 are underbanked or unbanked, meaning they may still store their cash and coins under their beds. And 30% roughly are people who are still not really online. They don't really know how to work online and missing out on the offers of the digital economy. And yet, the overall mobile penetration is almost over 120% if you put everyone together. So you can go to some of these countries like Indonesia, Philippines, where you can see someone sitting on the side of the road and they have 3 cell phones on all at the same time. And all of them have a different function. I'll give a couple of very interesting examples that underscores these live examples. I was doing some field trips bringing people from the US to visit Indonesia and Vietnam. So we went out to the 2nd and 3rd tier cities in the rural areas and to sit down for hours actually with different people to understand what is life like. I went into this young Vietnamese boy's home. His home is very simple. Actually, some of the windows don't even have curtains, so he hangs T-shirts up to hide the sunlight. And he just lies on the floor to take a nap, so it's a very simple home. But when I go into his place and ask him questions, he takes out his cell phone, and he starts showing me he has an online marketplace that he set up himself to trade leather jackets and Dr. Martens boots in 40 degrees Celsius weather. So I asked him, he's about 21, 22 years old. And I said, why would you do that? Who wears leather jackets in Vietnam in the middle of summer? And he said, it doesn't matter. It is something that is trendy. It is a symbol of status when you have a pair of Doc Martens. And we love being photographed wearing these jackets. And it's a market to trade, like people trade Birkin bags or watches or car parts or whatever we do. And he loves telling me about it. He's very savvy with using his mobile app to create this self-driven market trade. That is a very good example of micro MSME, we call it, micro, small, medium enterprise in developing countries that are driven by individuals, and they create their own marketplace, and they have leapfrogged the PC and landline era. They went from not going online to just going straight to mobile and using all the functions today that a smartphone can offer. I'll give you another example when we talk about opportunities. During COVID, a lot of things were paralyzed too. Many farmers were scratching their heads on thinking, how can we transact our goods? Meat and fruits, they go bad within days. We are still getting our harvest, and people who need food are not getting it. And so one of the things that Grab and many other apps that have a mobility function doing is to facilitate the transportation in a much larger scale and requiring much higher efficiency because the demand is suddenly so high so that we can eliminate as much of the middlemen as possible who are actually trying to make money off of a crisis. Within, I think, 5 days in Vietnam, we transacted over 100 tons of lychee. I think if we pour it all into this room, it will hit us all in the head and drown half of us. But there's just so incredible amount of volume of goods that had a pent-up demand of being matched the supply and demand. During COVID-2 in Singapore, I don't know if you've ever been to a hawker center. It's a very staple everyday food aspect. Many of the hawker centers are run by uncles and aunties that are older who have run for many, many years. They're brick and mortar business. They're not digitally savvy. They transact by cash. They use pens to write down orders. And so during COVID, it was very hard because there's no footfall. And so Grab and some other companies too, we created this thing called basket mix and match order because each unit price of each order is actually quite low. So if you just order a digital food delivery online, the economics may not make sense for them. But however, if you batch together 6 different orders or you allow the consumer to order from different stalls and so the bulk order amount is bigger, then you can make it work. So those are kind of creative things that digital economy, private economy, platform economies were doing to modernize, so to speak, many of the traditional businesses or the newly emerging businesses. But however, with opportunities also come challenges, right? So with a lot of these hawker centers, I told you, that are run by more elderly people, you need to teach them how to use the phone. I was born in the early 1980s. Even for me, I never used Snapchat. It's too much for me to handle. And a lot of very digitally savvy things, I need to ask my younger brother and my younger sister, who's like 15 years younger than me, to help me because I went through high school writing letters, right? Imagine if you talk to people who are from kind of the earlier baby boomer days. So running digital literacy capacity building programs is a key for both private and public sector. So for example, Grab partnered with MasterCard. We partnered with Microsoft, where we have digital literacy programs, cybersecurity programs, just to educate on something that we kind of take for granted if every day that's our lingo, but other people it's not. And when they have a technophobia, then they miss out on all the benefits that the digital transformation can offer them. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, June talked about 7,000 islands in Philippines. Indonesia, we don't have Indonesians here representing, but Indonesia has 17,000 islands. And people speak different indigenous languages. People live in very different ways. They have different religions that dictate how people, for example, women live in a more conservative manner, right? So all these things need to be taken into account. There is an island, there's an island, more remote area called in Kalimantan in Indonesia, where we discovered to buy a wok to cook your noodles is 6 times more expensive than in Jakarta, the capital of the city. Why? Because probably 20 different middlemen are trying to make money off of that person who's buying a wok, which is ridiculous, right? But that is what happens when you don't have perfect information, when you don't have transparency, when you don't have a central standardized system that offers products to a remote person in a rural area versus you're in the center of the urban development. So technology can help bridge that if there is education and assurance of safety. So that is my last kind of important point is, I hope nobody here has been frauded by someone online, scammed. I most certainly have, and there are quite a few times I almost gave away kind of my bank account information to someone who told me that, I don't know, some family member might have a problem. Even in the US, which is quite advanced, there's people scamming the IRS with information with a phone number online that almost corresponds with someone who's calling you, who's quoting that, and that's all scam as well. I don't know how they do it, but it's very advanced. Can you imagine in Southeast Asia, where many of these people, everyday people, they're not used to that language. Everyone's just saying how great going online is, so they trust it. And yet, all the scammers who are very, very advanced in how to scam people, they would know where to come in. Even here in Hong Kong, a lot of domestic helpers from Philippines and Indonesia, they are preyed on by loan sharks here who would only present partial facts of lending money to them and never mention what is actually the real interest rate. And many of them have paid back the amount just by dollar, still not knowing what is the actual interest rate after they've lost most of their life savings, having spent 20 years here serving someone's family. The list goes on. So I do think taking into account data security, cybersecurity, how creative fraudsters are, and we need to be, as policymakers and industry decision makers, how can we be even smarter, even more creative, and preempt them by educating everybody? Those are all really important factors and solutions to address these challenges in this age of digital transformation. Thank you. I don't know about the time, but I think I talk pretty fast. I should be in.
Don't worry about the time. Yeah, thanks, Irara. Wow, that's very, very insightful, all the things that you have shared. Now, let's have the last speaker, then before we open to the floor for questions. Timothy.
Thank you. So let me just briefly introduce myself. My name is Timothy Tam, and I'm the head of Government Affairs and Public Policy at Google Hong Kong. So welcome everyone. I know a lot of you have traveled from different countries, different markets to Hong Kong for this conference. So hopefully you will be able to spend some good time tonight and hopefully later this week as well. So my fellow speakers and panelists have already talked about a lot of the key themes and topics. The importance of supporting talent, supporting e-government, how we can leverage technologies to tackle daily life challenges, and how we can further unleash the potential of digitization in Southeast Asia and also Asia more broadly. So I think a lot of the key themes are actually commonly agreed among us. And I don't have a presentation deck, but I just wanted to share a few observations and also some statistics for everyone's consideration, and also some thoughts on how the public sector and the private sector can further work together so that we can unleash the full potential of digitization. So with that, I think we all agree that APAC is the region with a lot of growth potential. But again, there are a lot of people who are kind of left behind. So inclusive growth is very important. How we can make sure that we can equip the population with digital literacy, on digital skilling, and also how we can equip them with the knowledge on like identifying mis or disinformation, and how we can surface more quality information to the users. So these are all the questions that we as platforms, as private companies, and also the public stakeholders, the public sector stakeholders would work together to address these issues. And I think we are also all very optimistic about the growth potential of the digital economy in Asia. And it's a region of action, creativity, and dynamism. As my fellow panelists have shared, in Thailand, in Vietnam, in the Philippines, we are all leveraging the next wave of digital. How some of the markets are actually skipping through some of the intermediate stages and go directly to mobile. And you know, a lot of people can use their mobile phones to create their online marketplaces, and they can become sole proprietors with their own hands. And now I would like to share with you some figures and some observations based on Google's work in collaboration with some of our partners. And I think one of the figures was actually mentioned by Ilaria as well. So together with Temasek and Bain, Google has been tracking Southeast Asia's digital economy for the past 7 years throughout our Southeast Asia e-economy reports. So the outcomes of our most recent report are very striking. When we first started this research series in 2016, our original projection was that the Southeast Asian digital economy could reach $200 billion by gross merchandise value, or GMV, by 2025. But right now we know that we have been very wrong, and very happily so, because actually we reached that estimate 3 years earlier, by 2022. And again, the region is on track towards a 1 trillion GMV by 2030. That is what Ilaria just mentioned in her sharing as well. And again, how would we know all the potential, with all these great momentum going on in the region in the past decade, in the past few years. And we also know in terms of people where there are a lot of potential as well. So in the last 3 years alone, during the pandemic, there were 100 million new internet users across Southeast Asia. And many of them are actually the first-time internet users. So they may be encountering some technical difficulties. They may be encountering some difficulties with digital skilling, digital literacy, and so on. So how we will work together to help these new internet users to, leverage the potential of digitization. And here I'm also very pleased to share some of the work that Google has been doing across the region, together with other private sector and public sector stakeholders. So firstly, in terms of support for small and medium-sized enterprises, and some of those MSMEs, the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, we have helped train over 3 million SMB workers across Southeast Asia in digital skills through what we call as the Grow with Google program. And secondly, we also supported the Asia Foundation to launch a program called Go Digital ASEAN, which is a program that has trained more than 200,000 underserved MSMEs and job seekers in critical digital skills. And thirdly, we have committed 150,000 Google Career Certificate scholarships to underserved learners and enterprises across the region. And these all cover the very necessary and highly in-demand skills, such as cybersecurity that some of us have mentioned, as well as digital marketing, UX design, and so on. And even in Hong Kong, we are also rolling out this Google Career Certificate Scholarships program. And we are partnering with a key NGO in Hong Kong called the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups for the second consecutive year now. And we are distributing these scholarships to the underserved communities, including students from high schools and universities, and also some of the people who are looking for transition to tech jobs. So the aim is that if they study part-time for 3 or 6 months via these online courses, and hopefully they will be able to gain some entry-level knowledge for a new IT career. So that is a hope. And across APAC, we are also partnering with various NGOs and public sector organizations just to educate businesses and also users on the importance of safeguarding their own information and different tips on digital literacy, such as identifying misinformation and disinformation. But again, we understand that talent, peopleware, skilling, they're only a part of the equation. And what is the other part is also a key factor in today's discussion. How we can work on regulations and policies together. I mean the public sector and the private sector working together. So now I would like to share another statistics with you. The Digital Policy Alert, which is a public database of policy changes that affect cross-border digital commerce, recorded 1,300 policy or regulatory changes from January 2020 to now. So that is quite a lot across APAC. And of course, they cover different areas, including content, privacy, and other policy agendas. And this kind of policy fragmentation would actually undermine some of the potential of the internet to lift new businesses and also hurt consumers and SMBs disproportionately. So how we can make sure that we can, of course, have some risk-based approach to address some of the biggest challenges that technologies may bring to society and bring to users, while also making sure that we are not going to stifle innovation. And that's why it's very important for some of the regional and international platforms like APAC and ASEAN to work on these issues of policy fragmentation. And I can also give an example like digital trade. We always want to minimize all the barriers for digital trade because, again, if you have any barriers for cross-border data transfer and you have requirements for data localization, ultimately, it's not just affecting large corporations, but those small and medium enterprises and sole proprietors who may not have the necessary expertise and knowledge to deal with all these challenges. They're actually the ones who are being affected disproportionately. So 1,300 policy and legislative changes since January 2020. That's quite a lot. And hopefully we'll have more forums like this one and also some other forums through regional and international institutions that can help us drive some more convergence in terms of policy and regulations in digital economy. So that's all for my sharing for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy. Right, well, we now open the floor for questions. Anybody? Anyone online also that has questions?
I'd like to answer this question.
So,
To overcome the problem of fragmentation of policy. Actually, we copied Thailand. We copied from the UK 2 or 3 years ago. UK started the Digital Regulation Collaboration Forum, where they, starting to let these regulators to have a way to talk to each other, something like that. So in Thailand, we started last year, unofficially, we believe that, regulators need to talk to each other more and closely, because digital is going to have more impact on the way they regulate their, organization. But that is all country level. But I imagine that, for example, in ASEAN, I think we should have some sort of, digital regulation forum among, country in ASEAN, or probably in APAC or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Dr. Sa. Any questions from the floor? Or y'all waiting to go home to enjoy Hong Kong? Any question online? No. Okay. Maybe just one question for the panel. So all the digital efforts and all the initiatives, should we change course because of economy is getting a bit gloomy or uncertain, or you think that we should just push on?
You said, should we, sorry, what course?
Sorry?
Like you said,
should we change course? Is there anything that we need to change course, or is what we are doing, no matter whatever condition that is coming, that we should continue to push on? I mean, in the private sector, they are scaling back some of this, yeah. But I think on the government side, I guess also they are watching all the economic uncertainty. Yeah, will that pose a challenge to all the existing programs? I'm not sure any of the government sides will say, okay, let's reprioritize things. I mean, these are hard questions, yeah.
Let me answer your question. From the Philippines' perspective is that you don't have digital transformation once you don't spend. So we encourage spending in the Philippines. Right now, for the longest time, it has been a problem in the Philippines as to what the direction is. Now the direction is there. So I think it's really pushing forward. That's the only way to do. And that's the only way to go. And we cannot deprive ourselves from not preparing for the next pandemic or any other things like that of some sort. So right now, if you have that capacity to actually spend, most especially if the government, that's also helping the economy to revive back the economy. And from the Philippines, that's the perspective now. And we do copy and paste. We learn from the best and the brightest, and then we take the good things from them. So that's the trajectory right now in the Philippines.
Okay. Any other?
Yes, in Vietnam, that we are started officially 3 years ago, and basically it's 3 years ago we just don't know how to digital transformation. And we promote a lot of things, a lot of events, a lot of the news on the internet, on the TV, and a lot of K by K education. However, exactly it's this year. We just know how to do. That's my sharing. And it's this year we choose the slogan for the digital transformation about the digital database. Yeah, we promote for database for all of the people in Vietnam for ID, digital ID, like in Thailand and also we promote the database regarding to the government and private sector as well. We make it in the one platform to can share and can get and can decision by database. And up to now, I think in Vietnam we are very happy to can following the digital transformation program from the Prime Minister, and we up to now we not exactly the much difficult, but just I think that the digital transformation could be success basically following all of the people. All of the people, we can change, maybe some people can change behavior. You can use on the internet, you can pay by card. Yeah, not cash. Yeah, also you can change how to can work like we don't need to do by hard copy, hard document. You can send everything on the internet. And we merge to change behavior. However, as a merge thing, I think it's important for the head of the head. That means everything new thing merge to following bottom down. Yes. Something policy we make it bottom up. And if we would like to do new thing, we merge to up down. Just the head of the company, the head of the government merge to do first, and to change the mind of everybody in the company, everybody in the country. So if they think the head thinks that it's important, so they can contribute a lot of issue, a lot of resources to make it better and better. And that I mean that it's an important thing we need to do. And I'm very happy that in this forum, we raise the content. So everyone here, maybe from the government, from the private sector, can know it's important. So we change our mind. We know that it's important, so we do, and we work together. I think it's great time to do right now. Just so, thank you.
Maybe I'll just add a quick comment from the private sector. I don't know, maybe Google has a view. I think that your question is, people will answer differently if you're from government or the private sector. Yeah. I think absolutely, in this environment of high inflation, shrinking growth, private sector definitely should have a clear path to profitability. I think gone is the era of free money flowing everywhere and free money, zero interest rate, chasing yield-based or tech stocks that have a very high revenue growth outlook but unclear bottom line outlook. So I do think all private sector companies, especially tech companies, need to have a discipline. However, your question is about investing in digital transformation. That involves talent, that involves infrastructure, that involves laying the groundwork for the thriving of the digital ecosystem. And I think smart people who have wisdom in investments seldom behave reactively to economic cycles. They usually foresee what's going to happen a few cycles later, and they start investing and building their fort in order to prepare for the scenario in the future. And I think all good leaders, especially the ones who initiate digital transformation, they should have that foresight. And I don't think an economic downturn should affect it at all. If anything, Jun's point on is that you can create employment at a much lower cost. I mean, Google, I don't want to use you as an example, but you're a great example. In Silicon Valley, you're laying off very talented engineers. And what do you do if you get laid off by Google? Why don't you go and help transform a nation? That's not shabby at all. Right. And this is a perfect time to pick up talent. So I think if you're opportunistic and you're smart, you will make use of the global recession and high inflation environment and talent abundant environment and the layoffs and be opportunistic about it and smart about it and try to build as much as you can when the labor market is becoming less tight. So I do think the private sector and the public sector should be talking to each other in this aspect, sharing talent, sharing plans, sharing bottlenecks, sharing possibilities. I think in crisis, it creates heroes, and I think we should make use of what's going on right now in the world.
Any comment?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think.
Did you lay off this?
So luckily, I'm still with Google. And going back to the question, so I think talent, support for SMBs, cybersecurity, and digital literacy, these are almost like the evergreen topics that we are talking about, irrespective of economic situation and irrespective of where you are in the world. So I do think that we should double down on these topics, and we should have more public-private collaboration between companies and regulators, policymakers across APAC. And again, we always have all these emerging technologies. It could be AI or it could be something else later. So how we could leverage the potential or leverage the platforms of public-private partnership, such as APAC and ASEAN that I just mentioned. How we could leverage these regional platforms to drive some convergence in policy and regulations. And how we could work together to leverage AI and other technologies to handle some of the most pressing societal challenges like climate change, sustainability, public health, and so on. And of course, the transport challenges, like issues regarding infrastructure, smart city, how we can have AI and also technology-driven solutions. And last but not least, I think we all recognize the need for smart regulation. We are not opposed to regulation or legislation, but it's important that we have smart and sensible regulation that can really address the risk in a targeted manner, while also do not stifle innovation. And our CEO has also repeatedly stated that AI is too important not to regulate, and also too important not to regulate well. So I will just end this based on this note, and I'm sure this would be another round of discussion and possibly another conference, actually.
Yeah, okay. I'm mindful of the time. There's 5 minutes before 6 o'clock. So let me just summarize some of the points that bring up. Pardon if I use my own word. I guess right at the top, there must be a vision, right? A vision from the top about how you want your economy, how the government and the private sector to work together to drive digital transformation. Then after that, on the economic side, you probably need to have what you call digital enterprises, help to make use of digital technology to transform your business. And for the government side, you used to call it e-government, now we call it digital government, and it must have one face, not thousands of faces, right? And there is also things about digital innovation, how you build that capability, how you bring in new technology, right? And how you innovate so that you can prepare for the next frontier. Digital workforce, I thought is something that really grooming your local workforce core to be globally competitive. Yeah. So be it whether you're working for an enterprise or you're micro SME, in a remote village, trying to sell leather jackets and things like that, you need to be digital. You need to know how to trade online, how to use that mobile technology, that app, super app, and things like that. On the infrastructure, I think one talk about all the 5G, broadband, that is important. I mean, for a small city like Singapore, it's quite easy, but it is very important for big countries who are quite well spread. Then that infrastructure has to be deployed as much as possible to reach the last mile. And Timothy talked about smart regulation. I think that's important. We also don't want to stifle innovation. Generative AI is in the mouth of everybody, but how do we harness it while watching its bad side of it, right? I think last but not least is to build a digital and inclusive society. How do you educate your citizens to embrace digital, to use digital for life, right? How do they make them stay safe, especially for the vulnerable group? How do they stay safe in this online world? So I think that's my sum. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Yes, on the regional and international front, right? Dr. Sak talked about learning from each other, right? learning from each other. There should be more collaboration. And that's why I think next year we'll come back again for APAC DNS Forum 2024. Yeah, we have more sharing, maybe more MOUs, more collaboration. Okay, did I miss anything, my distinguished panel? Thank you, thank you. Okay, with that, we come to the end of this session. First, I'd like to thank my panel of distinguished speakers for sharing the valuable insight. Next is ICANN and HKIRC for hosting this excellent second edition forum. We'll hope to have more to come. And for those who are staying behind, do enjoy Hong Kong. And for those who are going back tonight or tomorrow, safe trip. Thank you. See you next year. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.